We're going to meet an elementary school teacher named Crocker, who kind of looks like this, but they're not chasing fairies. Instead, she's a predator. Teacher hunted for sexual assault victims in teen son's friend group. One, you're a teacher, right? You're already in charge of so many children. Two, your son's friends? I can't imagine this going well.
Let us be clear. The Silver Lake Salem Joint 1 School District takes this matter extremely seriously. The safety and well-being of our students is our top priority.
No, I know.
Graphic and disturbing new details are coming out about a teacher.
That doesn't even look like a real picture. That does not even look like a real picture. That looks like it's AI, or like they took her into Photoshop, did the whole liquefy thing, right? That Mr. Beast does, blew up her eyes and her mouth and said, "Have you seen this woman? Do you dream about this woman?"
Teacher's aide in Wisconsin, who prosecutors have charged with more sex crimes after her original arrest. We got our hands on the amended criminal complaint, which lays out how Anna Maria Crocker allegedly violated the trust of her students and the consequences she could face. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Well, more students in Kenosha County, Wisconsin have come forward to accuse elementary school staffer.
There's no way. I was so sure this was going to be high school. Elementary school? Jail forever. There is no way to redeem that person.
33-year-old Anna Marie Crocker of sexual assault. Crocker was originally charged last month with 3 felonies, but on November 1st, an amended complaint was filed. So now those charges, they're up to 7. And during a court hearing, the prosecutor said that her office is being flooded with tips and said that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Authorities say Crocker, a mother of 4, forced herself on her son's 12-year-old friend during a sleepover. She's also accused of sending explicit messages to several other teenagers.
I don't understand how people sometimes do things, not because it's like an impulse or because like it's something they wanted for a long time, but do you not feel like an immense sense of shame? If I do this and people find out that I did this, is that not enough for you not to do things? You don't even have to be a good person. You just have to be afraid of being judged. If I force myself onto a 12-year-old and people find out, is that not enough for you to be like, not going to do it? Never going to do that.
Crocker was an educational assistant at Riverview School in Silver Lake, which has students from kindergarten through 8th grade. She was fired at a specially called school board meeting in October.
There is no playbook on how to handle situations this disturbing and sensitive in nature. And our administrative team and office staff handled this situation promptly and with the utmost seriousness and care. And for that, we are grateful for their leadership throughout this matter. Let us be clear. The Silver Lake Salem Joint 1 School District takes this matter extremely seriously. The safety and well-being of our students is our top priority. We are committed to maintaining a safe and nurturing environment for everyone in our district. Anyone that seeks to harm or prey on children will not have a place in our school community. To that point, Anna Crocker was arrested Wednesday morning and removed from the district promptly. Her employment with the district has since been terminated.
Now, before we dive into the new criminal complaint, I do want to warn you that there are a lot of details that are difficult to listen to. They are honestly stomach turning. And so we're not going to get into everything. We're not getting into specifics, but it is important to understand why she's facing such serious charges, what she's facing, and also the kind of punishment she could potentially face if she's found guilty. So to talk about this, I want to bring in an expert on this, trial attorney David Ring.
I don't know the law here, and I don't know the law in Wisconsin. I don't know what the minimum and maximum sentences are for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old, especially when you're one of the people in charge of them, right? I understand that it was her son's friend, but I feel like if he goes to the school, which I think he does, that's more than enough to be like, she is in charge of him. It should be as easy as life sentence. I don't see how you look at this case and don't go, yeah, life sentence. I don't know what the min-maxes are. I think it should be a life sentence.
Trial attorney David Ring, who specializes in sexual abuse cases. David, so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Let me first just start real quick with the laundry list of charges that Crocker faces and also the sentencing guidelines if she's convicted. So we have first-degree child sexual assault. This is sexual intercourse with a child under the age of 13. Our understanding carries up to 60 years in prison. Possession of child pornography, at least 3 years, no more than 25 years. Sexual exploitation of a child, this is the filming component. This is at least 5 years, no more than 40 years.
If she has videos and possession, 60. Give her the max 25. Give her the max 40. Yeah, no, just give her the life sentence, dude.
Exposing genitals, no more than 3 years. Exposing a child to harmful material, up to 3 years. Child enticement, up to 25 years. Exposure to a child to harmful descriptions, up to 3 years in prison. So if she's convicted and gets the maximum penalty, David, on each charge, am I looking at it the wrong way, or could she be looking at more than 100 years in prison? And is that actually reality, a practical reality of what she could be facing here?
Well, yeah, she could be facing, a lifetime in prison. The reality of it really probably is if she's convicted, she's going to get very, very significant time. I mean, I could see a judge sentencing her to 20 plus years in prison for these crimes. This
Not
lady
enough.
is absolutely a predator, no doubt about it. She's gonna go.
How do you open your eyes that wide? I can't do it. Am I doing it?
This lady is absolutely a predator, no doubt about it. She's gonna go to prison for a long time.
Look, she's innocent until proven guilty, right? She hasn't been convicted, but assuming all of this is true, and she gets convicted across the board of all of this, and we will go through these allegations, any kind of mitigating factors that would help her during sentencing? Is it mental health issues, her upbringing, what was going on in her life, anything like that that could factor in to a case like this?
All of those elements you just mentioned could factor in. The fact that she's got young children. She's obviously a mother with 4 children that apparently are, teenagers or younger. That could factor in. And the mental health aspect could also factor in. We haven't heard much about that, so we don't know. But look, she's going to have to, assuming she's convicted, she's going to have to bring in either experts or friends or relatives. We're going to have to come in and testify as to give some explanation of why she acted this way. I don't know if that's going to carry the day, though, because these are heinous crimes, if true.
Here's what deputies in Kenosha County say they found out. So on October 8th, a man apparently called police to report that his 13-year-old son was forced to have sex with the mother of his friend. The alleged victim, identified as ZG in the probable cause statement, told deputies that he met Crocker's son at school. They were friends. He said that he had been to Crocker's home, quote, countless times. And the probable cause statement says, quote, ZG described the defendant as acting crazy every time he is over there because she is a heavy drinker. ZG then described an incident that occurred 9 to 10 months ago in the wintertime. He was at the defendant's house for a sleepover with some friends. Throughout the evening, they played basketball, went for a walk, and played video games. Everyone went to bed around midnight. ZG slept on the couch in the basement. While asleep on the couch, he was woken up by the defendant, who was naked. The defendant had removed ZG's pants and was on top of him. Eventually, his friends heard noises and went downstairs. The defendant tried to hide, but his friends saw what happened. ZG went upstairs and told his friends what happened and then went to bed.
Imagine walking in on your mom, not only just like sleeping with your 12-year-old friend, because you don't know what's happening at the time, but finding out that she was assaulting him. That's nuts. That's wild.
David, that is just horrifying. And also, it makes you wonder why it doesn't come out until so much longer. You have the allegation that this happened to this young boy, but also people see it as well. Talk to me what your thoughts are on this.
I've represented children my entire career in these types of cases, and it's not unusual at all that this victim would not go tell someone right away. He's a boy. He doesn't know what to do. He's 12 years old. This is a shocking, unbelievable incident to him, and kids don't know how to react to that. I think she also down the road kind of threatened him and said, hey, you can't tell anyone about this. That's always very effective on the victim. And so it's not unusual at all that he didn't tell, or at least didn't tell for a while, truly. And so the other thing is these other boys saw it. Again, it's not unusual for other boys who saw it not to tell. I mean, they're probably talking amongst themselves, but for them to go to an adult and say what happened, they probably think no adult's going to believe this.
Yeah, but you know what? There was also apparently rumors that were going around the school about what the students saw, about what happened. And I just imagine if there's rumors going around, people are talking about, how did the school staff not know about it?
Well, ultimately, I think what happened here was, jumping ahead a little bit, is another boy who she victimized did tell the school. And went and told a school staffer that, hey, she's sending me Snapchat, sexual content, videos, things like that. And so you do have at some point one victim who comes forward and tells school authority, and the school authority tells the police, and there she goes. She's going to get arrested. So look, it went on long enough where you eventually have someone telling an adult who does the right thing.
So let me get into this a little bit more, and I'll stick with ZG, because at one point, when apparently he was getting ready for football one day, he tells his mom he didn't feel well, goes to the bathroom, and he says he starts dry heaving, and he reportedly made the comment, "I thought I would never have to think about it again." And that's when he told his mom what had happened. So David, absolutely horrific allegations, and this all seems to be proof that all children, male or female, deeply affected by something like this.
Yes.
It's one thing to not report, but look.
They were traumatized by trauma. That makes sense to me.
Look at the actual, if you take that allegation as true, the physical effect it has on these victims.
Absolutely. I mean, it's horrific. Look, this is a crime of child rape. If the allegations are true, this lady went downstairs and took this boy's clothes off, 12-year-old boy. She's 33 years old, took this boy's clothes off and essentially raped him. And so you can imagine the impact that has on a young kid, on anybody, even an adult. Yeah. But the impact on this young kid who doesn't have the tools to know what to do, doesn't have anyone to tell, doesn't think he can tell anyone. He's holding it inside for a long time. And it's not unusual to have physical symptoms, physical sickness arise because of what happened. Truly horrific crime.
It really is. And you mentioned it, ZG was not the only child that Crocker's accused of targeting. So we have this 14-year-old, JPF, those are the initials in the filing, and told the school resource officer at the local high school that he had been exchanging sexual chats and pictures with Crocker on Snapchat for, quote, a long time. Goes back to that question about it had to take him and the other person to come forward.
That's so uncomfortable. I remember, I'm not going to out him. It doesn't make him look bad at all. I just it's not my business. So there's a Pokemon content creator, and he and I were talking once, and he was like, "Can I tell you something?" And I was like, "Sure, dude." And he told me about a time that somebody sent him an unsolicited nude on Instagram, and he didn't know who she was, and it made him really, really uncomfortable. Not only what unfounded confidence you have to just send someone who didn't ask for it or doesn't want it a picture of you completely naked. But then the step forward to do that against a child, that's so gross. It's, again, one of those things that I would feel gross even thinking about doing, but the feeling of if anyone found out I did this would be, that's more than enough for me never to even consider anything like that. Not towards other adults, definitely not towards children. That's just too much. Also, you're a 33-year-old woman. Yeah, that's a good point. But here's the thing. If she is a child predator, it's not because she can't have sex with other people. It's because she wants to be a child predator. There's a power dynamic there. And that's why it's not just the one person. It's not just the one 12-year-old. There was the one that she was Snapchatting. Also why she probably went out and got this job where she's in charge of kids.
Forward, and why did school staff not know? But he also told this deputy that Crocker had sexually assaulted him in a parking lot in another county in August of 2024. The probable cause statement goes into detail about what ZG revealed in his forensic interview, which we're not going to get into, but it does note ZG said he told her repeatedly to get off of him, but she would not listen. He also tried to push her off. Now, unfortunately, the victim's trauma really didn't end there because according to police, ZG stated that a couple months ago, someone had given the defendant his phone number. She texted him identifying herself as Anna and was telling ZG to apologize to her for what happened in the basement. ZG described the defendant as trying to make him feel guilty. The defendant also told him he could not tell anyone about what happened. ZG blocked her as a result.
That's wild.
David, so twisted. So taking this allegation as true, Crocker, the adult, is trying to make a child admit that he was at fault for what happened, that he needed to apologize to her. Is this something that we see in these kinds of cases? I don't know if we want to call it manipulation, want to call it gaslighting, but an attempt to stay out of trouble, reverse the narrative, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's you see perpetrators try to make the victim feel like it's the victim's fault. Hey, you're the one who wanted this to happen. You're
making it worse by not only like doing that, but also doing it over text. That I hope she got the maximum sentence for all of that.
You're the one who texted me back. You're the one who got in my car with me. And so they try to manipulate the victim. You used a good phrase, gaslighting. They try to make the victim feel shame and guilt and fear. And all of that plays into the victim not coming forward for a while or maybe never. And that's what they do. They manipulate these young kids into believing that it's their fault, that no one's going to believe them, that if they come forward, they're going to get in trouble because somehow they participated in this. So, I mean, this lady is, if true, she's twisted. And for her to try to make this kid apologize to her for what happened is just, it's bizarre. But, you know, she somehow thought it was going to help her in some weird way.
Yeah, that's wild.
So investigators, they end up speaking to Crocker. A detective interviews Crocker, and she admits, yeah, I received this explicit video from JPF, saves it to her phone, and she also admitted to sending the video to another female student at Riverview. Why admit it? Because she has, I guess you can't deny what the cell phone data shows?
There's so much going on there. If, as an adult, you get an explicit video from a kid, let's ignore the idea that she probably asked for it, right? Out of nowhere, let's pretend that you're an adult and you get this video from a child. If your first reaction is to save it and send it to another child, how do you justify that? I don't know what you're supposed to do. I feel like I would go to the police. I just would, because like I'd be so scared of getting in trouble for that. I'd be like, Or at least the parents. Like I would go to the kid's parents and be like, hey, your son did this. I'm going to take it to the police. Not because I want them to get in trouble, but because like this can't happen.
Well, you know, look, if criminals were incredibly smart, none of them would be behind bars, right? I mean, this lady's just so wrapped up in everything that's going on in her life and all these twisted crimes. I think she can't keep track of anything. And what's really going to doom her, assuming all this is true, what we're hearing from the authorities, what's going to doom her is what's on her phone. Is the authorities have her phone and they've gone through it and they have found all of these Snapchat messages and videos and photos that corroborate exactly what these young boys are saying happened. And so that's ultimately what's going to doom her is the evidence on her own phone.
Let's explore that a little bit, because police also spoke to another 13-year-old identified as CPW, who said he was also talking with Crocker or communicating with Crocker on Snapchat and said she sent him lewd videos, and Crocker reportedly sent the teen, sorry to say this, a video of her pleasuring herself. According to the probable cause statement, when CPW first opened it, he thought it was a workout video, but it wasn't. He clicked through the video and didn't respond. He stated he was too young for that. CPW said then he became scared, blocked the defendant. He said he was scared because of what happened to his friend ZG, who told CPW that the defendant raped him. So many different elements to this, David. One thing I didn't mention before as we're listening to this, There's no such thing as consent when you're dealing with minors.
Yes.
But to have this added level to it where they say, I didn't want this. I'm too young for this. I tried to push her off. And she keeps going forward. That's another insidious element to that as well. And also I have to say, using Snapchat, which you and I both know, is a social media platform where some of those things can be deleted, right? I think that's a specific kind of social media platform.
Yeah, well, so two things. One, the use of force is outrageous, and you're right. No child can consent to having sex with an adult, right? Now, a lot of times kids are manipulated and groomed, and the adult is, well, gee, they agreed to do it. No, they're under the legal age. They cannot agree. And so it's all manipulation. But you're right. Here in this case, it's just force. This is just child where the kid's trying to fight her off, doesn't want it to happen, and she goes ahead and makes it happen. It's a horrific crime. With respect to the Snapchat stuff, that's what makes it really difficult for parents, for adults to try to, prevent these things from happening, because Snapchat messages, as we all know, disappear. You could pick up your kid's phone and say, hey, what's my kid up to these days? And let me go through his text messages, and unless he's deleted them, they might still be there. Snapchat messages, they're gone, right? Yeah. Most of the time. And so it's really tough to detect these crimes as a parent, very frustrating, And so this lady knew what she was doing. She's using Snapchat for a particular reason because she believes all those messages will disappear. Unfortunately for her, the authorities are always able to retrieve those messages because they have the tools to do so.
And there are several documented incidents where Crocker had contacted other young teenage boys, typically by adding them on Snapchat, striking up a conversation. For example, another teen, RDH, said he got a weird message from Crocker. When asked what the weird message was,
where is she messaging these kids on to start this? Or is she like, haha, add me on Snapchat in class?
RDH said the defendant asked him how old he was. RDH replied that he was 13 years old, to which the defendant replied, I like that. RDH blocked her immediately after that. Here's another example with a teen identified as SDW, which deputies found out when they searched Crocker's Snapchat data. The defendant advises SDW that she saw him on the homecoming float for his high school. She then asks SDW how old he is, to which SDW replies, about to be 17. The defendant then tells SDW her age and that for employment, she is a teacher and is starting to sell real estate. Well, it turns out SDW is the older brother of one of her son's friends. Right. Not great for her. So David, again, I think it's horrifying to hear this. Really, I don't know how you argue away those kinds of messages unless you say, oh, somebody else was impersonating me on the phone, which I think would be rather difficult. But, you talked about the sense of grooming and the sense of luring people. It seems, though, that she was using, if these allegations are true, her own child's friend group as a kind of hunting ground. Is that something that we've seen before, where you have a staff member whose own children go to a school and then, kind of use them as a way to stay in contact with these kids?
As sick and demented as that is, yes. I've seen it happen a lot, where the teacher or a worker at the school, their friends, their kid has their friends over for sleepovers or just to have them over, and they use that as a target for victims, their own child's friend group. I mean, as outrageous as that sounds, I have absolutely seen that happen before. And it just shows you how demented the perpetrator is. I mean, this lady, based on everything we've talked about.
Is this an AI generated image? Because I don't know what's happening on the left side of this picture. I guess like left for her on the right side of this picture. Like, that's so beside the point, but like, what is going on?
I mean, this lady, based on everything we've talked about today, Jesse, this lady is a classic predator. I mean, no doubt about it. And look, society, we always think of males as being a predator. The male is always, hey, this lady is as bad as they get. She's a female predator going after young boys, and she's manipulating them using, sex and videos and she's
this man looks so done. This man is just like so not here for it. It does, yeah, like picture day, school pictures, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Manipulating them using, sex and videos and sexual talk to draw them in and then to take advantage of them.
Because there's so many alleged victims here, and now the prosecutor in the county is saying she's receiving tons and tons of tips. If there are more alleged victims or more instances or more witnesses to this, is the school district liable at all for any of this? That they didn't find out about this and didn't stop it?
I think if you can prove that the school district knew about it, then yes. But I don't know how you prove that unless another teacher knew about it, or if like one of the rumors had spread and the teachers were made aware of them.
Remains to be seen. My understanding is she worked there for about 4 years. She started off as kind of a substitute teacher's aide, and then they hired her full time. Look, in my experience, 9 out of 10 times, there's a lot of red flags or warning signs that school officials or administrators should have known that something was going on. But to be fair, there's other times where they didn't know. Where this, for example, if this lady, it was all text messages, is outside of the classroom. No one possibly could have known she was texting or Snapchatting these boys. And maybe the school didn't know, but it remains to be seen. And it's something that should always be looked into as, hey, could this have been prevented?
They also showed footage of the school board, I'm assuming that's what they were, gathering together and like promptly firing her. So I think you could probably talk about how fast that happened and how prompt was. If it was like, oh, we were told this, we took action. Okay. But if they took longer than that and they allowed her to keep working while investigating, then I think there's maybe an issue there.
She's a school employee, and presumably some of these boys went to that school. That's where the relationship or the connection started.
Well, for now, Crocker is locked up on a $500,000 bond. Her attorney says she is maintaining her innocence, and her next court appearance is scheduled for November 22nd. David Ring, thank you so much for coming on. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Oh, November 22nd
All right,
happened.
everybody, what a story. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sidebar as we cover it. As always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.